My ex and her lawyer boyfriend took everything: the houses, cars, money, even the kids. Broke. I went to the bank with my grandpa's old card. The manager went pale. This account's been active since 1948. What I saw on the screen left me frozen. My name is Isaac Moore. I'm 41 years old, and I used to think I had life figured out. I worked as a financial analyst for a mid-sized firm in Atlanta, lived in a beautiful suburban home, and had what I believed was a perfect family. My wife Eva, 38, was stunning, elegant, and ambitious. She worked as a real estate agent, and her charm could make anyone trust her instantly. Eva and I met when I was 28. She was showing me a property that I couldn't afford at the time, but her smile made me sign that contract anyway. Within a year, we were married. We had 2 children, Liam and Sophie, and I thought our love story was the kind you only saw in movies. But I was wrong, so wrong. At first, the changes were small. She started working late, dressing differently, and guarding her phone like it was a state secret. I wanted to believe it was just work stress. I kept telling myself that marriages go through phases. But deep down, I knew something was off. One evening, after another one of her late-night showings, she came home smelling of expensive cologne that wasn't mine. When I asked her about it, she laughed and said, "Oh, stop being paranoid, Isaac. You're imagining things." But my gut told me otherwise. A few days later, I got a call from my bank. They said there were large withdrawals from our joint account, tens of thousands gone. When I confronted Eva, she didn't even try to deny it. She just smirked and said, "You'll understand soon enough." Within a week, I was served divorce papers. And not just any divorce papers. These were filed by her new boyfriend, a lawyer named Daniel Green. Apparently, Eva had been seeing him for almost a year. She met him when he helped her close a property deal. He was everything I wasn't: flashy, loud, and ruthless. The divorce was brutal. She painted me as controlling and emotionally distant. Daniel made sure I looked like the villain. I lost almost everything: the house, the cars, the savings, even custody of my kids. I was left with a few boxes of clothes and my dignity hanging by a thread. I moved into a tiny apartment downtown and started rebuilding my life. But one day, when I was cleaning out an old storage box that had belonged to my late grandfather, I found an old leather wallet. Inside it was a bank card, the kind they used decades ago. It had the logo of Union Bank, the same institution that now had a branch just a few blocks away. The card looked ancient, but something about it pulled me in. My grandfather, Edward Moore, was a quiet man. He never talked much about money or his past. When he died, he left a small inheritance, but nothing major. Still, this card had his name engraved in gold. Curiosity got the better of me. I walked to the bank the next morning. The manager, a middle-aged man named Mr. Carter, took the card and chuckled. "Sir, this thing is a relic. I haven't seen one of these since, ever." But when he typed the account number into his computer, his expression changed instantly. His face went pale. He looked up at me and said quietly, "Mr. Moore, this account's been active since 1948. I blinked, confused. "Active? You mean there's still money in it?" He nodded slowly, his hands shaking slightly. "Not just money, sir. There's a lot. Please, come with me." He led me to his office and locked the door behind us. On the screen was a balance that made my heart skip a beat. It wasn't a few thousand. It wasn't even a few million. The account held over $42 million, all in my grandfather's name, untouched for decades, growing with interest. I couldn't breathe. My grandfather had lived modestly, almost poor, and never spoke about this. I had no idea why. Mr. Carter explained that the account had special trust provisions. My grandfather had arranged it so it could only be accessed by a direct blood relative under specific conditions, conditions that had just been met since his estate was now closed. That moment changed everything. I spent the next few days in disbelief. Then I started digging into my grandfather's past. Turns out, he had once owned large portions of land that later became prime real estate in Atlanta. He sold most of it quietly and deposited everything in this hidden account. He never trusted the government or family politics, so he kept it secret. When I realized I was now worth millions, I had two choices: start fresh or get even. And I'll be honest, I wanted revenge. Eva and Daniel had destroyed my reputation, taken my kids, and left me for dead. So I played the long game. First, I stayed quiet. I didn't change my lifestyle immediately. I still lived in that small apartment, drove my old car, and dressed like a man struggling to make rent. I wanted them to think I was finished. Meanwhile, I hired private investigators, two of the best in the city. They found out that Eva and Daniel had been stealing money from their clients, hiding assets, and even laundering through fake property deals. It was all there, in black and white. But I didn't take it to court right away. No, I wanted to hit them where it hurt most, their pride. Using a shell company, I started buying up the properties Eva was trying to sell. Every single one of them. She had no idea I was behind it. Then, I hired Daniel's own legal assistant, a woman he'd been secretly dating, to leak his confidential emails and fake case reports. Within a few months, his law firm fired him for misconduct. His license was suspended. Eva's business collapsed because she couldn't close a single deal. She was drowning in debt, and her reputation was in ruins. That's when I showed up. I'll never forget that moment. She was sitting in a cafe, hair messy, eyes tired. When she saw me, her jaw dropped. "Isaac, what are you doing here?" I smiled. "Just came to thank you." "For what?" she asked bitterly. "For teaching me what betrayal feels like. Because without it, I'd never have found the strength, or my grandfather's legacy." She froze. "What do you mean?" I leaned closer. "You remember how you took everything from me? Well, turns out, I had more than you ever imagined." She tried to apologize, but I just stood up and said, "You and your lawyer boyfriend took my life apart. Now, you'll watch me live the one you wanted." As I walked out, I saw her break down completely. A week later, Daniel was arrested for fraud. Eva filed for bankruptcy. And me, I moved into a beautiful new home. Not for revenge, but for peace. I rebuilt my bond with my kids, slowly but surely. They came to live with me eventually, once they realized who their mother truly was. Sometimes, late at night, I sit in my study and think about my grandfather. I realize he must have known that one day I'd need that money, not for greed, but for redemption. So, to anyone watching this, remember, betrayal can destroy you or define you. In my case, it did both. And as for Eva, I heard she moved out of state, working odd jobs just to survive. I don't hate her anymore. I just hope she learned that when you take everything from a good man, you'd better make sure he stays down. Because if he rises again, he'll come back stronger than ever. That's my story. I lost everything, only to find out my past held the key to my future. And the look on their faces when they realized who I'd become, that was worth every scar they left behind. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place?